All right, everyone, welcome back into another NFL props video. Going to be touching on the top prop bets here for the Super Bowl game between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's go and get into it. And so, as always, I do like to start off with a game preview here. And looking at the game total, is projected to be a pretty high-scoring game at 49 total points, which to me is a little bit surprising just because of how good these two defenses have been throughout the postseason, but really throughout the whole season as well. And if you look at it at times, the offenses have not been as explosive as you would want them to be. Although, Eagles seem to have gotten that corrected against Washington last week, although that was kind of expected, right? It's kind of a weird playoffs thus far for the Eagles where, each round their matchup actually got easier as it progressed to the point where they're going against Commanders, which I kind of tweeted out. It's strange for a team to get a bye week the week before the Super Bowl, which I think most people would argue, yeah, the Commanders were a fun story, but no one really expected them to play all that well. Like, would you even put the Commanders as like a top 5 team in the NFL this year, which I know is weird to say. People are like, they advanced. They're a top 4 team because of where they were in the playoffs, but you guys get my point. Like, were they a better team than the Ravens? Were they a better team than the Bills? Were they a better team than the Vikings, the Rams, the Packers? Like, I would say no, but at the end of the day, they obviously won and advanced to where they were able to get to a matchup with the Eagles, where then the Eagles were able to take advantage of that super soft matchup and really look good offensively, really recharge maybe some confidence in that offense there. But really, they should have been able to do that against the Commanders defense that had just been terrible. They really did what was expected there. And so the Chiefs then, they end up playing the Buffalo Bills, who I would argue was the best team in the NFL this whole year. And again, people are like, that's kind of weird to say, like they lost. They're not the best team. Obviously, they just couldn't get out of their way. Couple of unfortunate calls there in that game as well. Chiefs were able to take advantage of that. And that's the key thing here. Both teams, you would argue, are here because they were able to take advantage of some good situations for them, maybe some 50-50 calls that they got, and they're able to take advantage of that. And that to me is kind of the takeaway, is that these two teams have been able to create turnovers, take advantage of those turnovers, and that's why they're here. Or maybe a fortunate call here or there. They've been able to take advantage of those calls. I mean, great teams do that, right? But I don't know. I would agree with the point spread there of 1.5 points in favor of the Chiefs. Can I see the Eagles winning? Probably, but I would argue that the Chiefs are the better team, especially coming in off of beating the Bills, who then beat the Baltimore Ravens. Like, to me, those were the top 3 teams. And then it really was a toss-up. And obviously the Eagles have been a team that really hasn't made that many mistakes, and again, has been able to take advantage of mistakes that other teams have made as well. The biggest issue that the Chiefs are going to have is going to be running back-wise. They really need that running back play to be better, and that's going to be through Kareem Hunt. We'll touch on that in just a second. But a fun thing that I'm looking forward to, guys, is the biggest reason you would argue that the Chiefs won and are in the Super Bowl is because they were able to stop kind of the tush push, if you will, whatever you want to call it. And obviously that's the Eagles' specialty. I'm most looking forward to that matchup specifically. I want to see some 4th and 1s, 3rd and 1s. I want to see some occasions where the Chiefs stop that in a key situation, but the fact that they're able to do that last week honestly gets me more excited about this week. But with that, guys, don't want this video to be too fluffy, have too much fluff. Let's go ahead and get into the best prop bets. So, guys, the best bet that we have on the board for the NFL is actually going to be looking at DeAndre Hopkins to not record 2 receptions, for him to get under 1.5 receptions. And it's definitely an interesting bet. You look at the snaps last week, his snaps were down last week in favor of Juju Smith-Schuster getting more snaps. And they actually ran out a little bit more 11 personnel in that game against Buffalo, which they might end up doing that in this game as well against the Eagles. Like, Juju ended up playing 64% of the routes, had a 64% route share, I should say, and about 54% of the total snaps as well. And so with that, we saw the snaps for DeAndre Hopkins come down. And so with that, if those snaps are still going to be there for DeAndre Hopkins, then yeah, it is likely for him to get under 1.5 receptions. But this was the best bet on the board as it currently sits right now. Now, this could change, and I do think that this is a call out that we should make, is that there's going to be a lot of public money that comes in for Super Bowl bets. And so just make sure before you place an NFL bet, make sure that you are double checking to make sure it's still a good bet. Obviously, a good bet is going to be a bet that has a 54% likelihood or better to hit. Now, after that, we're going to notice that all the bets that we were getting from that point on are not as good percentage-wise. I'm looking at PrizePicks, and apologies, I'm looking at the underdog board as it sits right now. Maybe you could be someone that's betting on like Isaiah Pacheco for under 23.5 rush yards. That's an okay bet. He has seen the snaps go down recently in favor of Kareem Hunt, and Kareem Hunt has looked good. I mentioned this a bunch now throughout the playoffs. Kareem Hunt, it seemed like he was fully tapped out at the point in which Isaiah Pacheco was going to be coming back for the Chiefs, and it seemed like perfect timing. It's like, all right, Kareem Hunt has slowly but surely looked worse, and it's a good timing for Pacheco to come back. He's going to be the workhorse running back once again. That was not the case. Actually, Kareem Hunt has kind of looked better each week, whereas Pacheco has looked worse each week. And obviously that's because of the Pacheco injury. So you end up seeing Kareem Hunt get 56% of the snaps last week, and Pacheco only get 30% of the snaps last week. And now we kind of look at his game log here. Obviously, he has been struggling there, 12, 18, 18, which kind of not shocking there. And given the matchup with the Eagles, it wouldn't be shocking for him not to get this over again, because the Eagles' rush defense has been, top notch really this whole year. And so, yeah, I'm kind of on board with betting the under 23.5 rush yards there for Pacheco. But if we're doing that, I think I would want to find a bet for Kareem Hunt for his over in some capacity. Now, do I want to do his 9.5 fantasy score? Probably not. That feels a little bit too high. Could we do receiving yards? I hesitate to get there as well. And so basically all the lines that we are seemingly getting for Kareem Hunt to me seem to be correct. And that's kind of the issue, is that I want to bet it over. I want to pair Pacheco under rush yards with a potential Kareem Hunt over, but all the lines for Kareem Hunt seem to be correct. And obviously that's because those two would correlate. If Pacheco's struggling, that most likely means that's because Hunt is still getting the volume there, as opposed to Pacheco getting that volume. So guys, one of my favorite players to bet on for this game specifically is going to be Dallas Goedert again. And I say again because strangely enough, he's been someone we've been targeting a bunch thus far this playoffs in terms of his overs, because the lines haven't been correct. He's been a player that has gotten the good matchups, but now his lines have kind of increased because of that good game against Washington, and because, he was able to get his overs at the lines that day against the Packers and against the Rams as well. And so now we're looking at him here against the Chiefs, where that is their weakness. If the Chiefs defense has a weakness, it has been stopping opposing tight end production, or just allowing Dalton Kincaid to do that himself, which obviously is a quick shout out to, not shout out, kind of just me hating on Dawson Knox having a role. That was the only bet that we missed last week in that game stack, which was annoying. It's like, just give Dawson Knox that play, and he catches it. And apparently Kincaid was banged up, which is why we saw Knox playing a little bit more. But we get back into these bets here for Dallas Goedert, and I want to call it out. So we are seeing that PrizePicks is actually giving him a goblin line of 4.5 receptions. This is extremely strange, because when we actually go ahead and take a peek at the underdog line, they're actually giving us a slight increase in the payout for Dallas Goedert to get over 4.5 receptions. This is where we should be making the best bets possible. So I think by now, guys, people know that goblins and demons are kind of a scam on PrizePicks. We shouldn't be doing that. But yes, different sites are going to have different values for each player. But the simple fact that they're giving us this line that is kind of just a standard line when looking at the odds, like a 50-50 split right now, the fact that they're pushing it as a goblin is pretty crazy. That's just another call as to maybe why we shouldn't be attacking goblins. But as always, we want to be making the best decisions possible. If you think he's going to be able to get over 4.5 receptions, by all means do that. Now, kind of just naturally thinking, if PrizePicks gives us the line at 5, which I would argue it's probably going to be a chance to be a push then at that regard. If they give us a standard line at 5 receptions, you could then simply just bet the over on underdog and bet the under on PrizePicks. Chances are it'll just end up being a push where he gets 5 receptions. Now, I think a more popular bet for Dallas Goedert is going to be maybe his receiving yards, but that's only if you believe the game is going to be more of a shootout. Again, 49 points is a lot, and so if you guys think it's going to be closer to that, then you'd be fine betting that over. Now, another player that I actually like getting into is going to be looking at Xavier Worthy. So the nice thing about Xavier Worthy or even Dallas Goedert is we know that their roles are kind of defined at this point, and we know they're both going to get a lot of snaps. Worthy has been kind of the receiver number 1 here for this offense for the Kansas City Chiefs, and he has been getting some design catches as well. So I don't mind the idea of getting to him for over 5.5 receptions. That is a tight one, though. I kind of wish we were getting a standard bet here. We are not on PrizePicks. It's either Goblin at 4.5 or a Demon bet at 5.5, which when we also take a look here on Underdog, that's going to be the exact same case there as well. Kind of annoying there. I wish we were able to bet on this a little bit better. And then from there, I do want to go ahead and just get into some prop line differences that we are getting here, guys. So I don't mind the idea of potentially being on a middle here for AJ Brown. We are seeing a pretty big prop line difference in terms of how Underdog is currently valuing him and in terms of how AJ Brown is currently being valued on PrizePicks. Okay, so PrizePicks is a little bit higher, 14.5. In a higher scoring game, that's fine. With Xavier Worthy, I do think betting the over receptions is a fine way to go. Same thing with Dallas Goedert because of the high scoring game nature. So for me, I might end up betting this a little bit more on underdog where we're chasing more of that high scoring game nature. Now that's the biggest prop line difference between PrizePicks being much higher than underdog. Typically it's the opposite, as we're going to see here, guys. So looking at some of these fantasy score prop line differences, this is a pretty big one here for Jalen Hurts. 1.5 for a prop line difference is pretty big here. So again, we probably do want to be attacking the over on PrizePicks here and the under on underdog. I wanted to call it the AJ Brown bet though, because you could use AJ Brown with Jalen Hurts as a game stack if you are someone that bets on PrizePicks and underdog. And so what you could do is, let's say in slips where you want to bet on Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown for their overs, obviously you could do Jalen Hurts over 20.5 on PrizePicks and then actually do AJ Brown for his over on underdog. That's a good way to go about stacking those bets without the payout being reduced. So then, guys, just real quick, any other bets that we could potentially begin to here as well? Do you like any bets here for Travis Kelce? I don't know. I kind of see him being something that we don't need to get to in this game. It is a more difficult matchup here. Now, obviously, if the Chiefs are going to win this game, if they're 1.5 point favorites, Travis Kelce is probably going to be one of those players that needs to get going in this game. Now, maybe it does end up being Hollywood Brown here, who Hollywood Brown did play the second most snaps amongst the receivers for the Chiefs. Again, the targets were there for him. Almost had that sideline catch that he didn't make. That was kind of honestly terrible ball skills there. He could be someone that actually just catches a deep pass. For me, if I'm betting on Hollywood Brown, I probably would want to do the longest reception type bet there with him. Wouldn't be surprising to see him catch a good pass. But I'm a little bit weary. I could see this being actually more of a defensive struggle. I do think it's going to be one or the other. I don't think we're going to see it be like one half poor defense, one half good defense. Like we do see that happen sometimes. I could see this being more of a time of possession game rather than a shootout. But that would depend on the Chiefs being able to get their run game going, which would be the biggest question mark. And obviously, the Chiefs have been really good against the run as well. And so that's why I think we are going to be favoring more of the passing game props. Now, for me, I don't need to get to Patrick Mahomes for over 1.5 passing touchdowns. It is kind of crazy in this matchup that people are getting to that a lot, for one, but also the fact that it is a goblin. I don't know. I just don't feel the need to get there. And same thing here with all the bets that we are getting for Saquon Barkley as well. I don't feel the need to get there with any of his bets. Maybe we could get to like, if the game is going to be a game where they're playing from behind, maybe a receptions type prop for him, but I don't need to get there. I feel like all the lines that we're getting on him are seemingly correct as well. I don't need to force a bet in there for him. So with that, guys, we're going to go ahead and get into the bet of the day here for both sites. All right, guys, so getting into the 9 to 5 bet of the day here for today, starting with the underdog bet slip. I'm going to be chasing a 3-slip bet here on underdog. Obviously, a 3-slip bet is a little bit better on underdog, where a standard bet would be paying out 6x. Now we are doing 2 bets that are a little bit less likely to hit, so the payout's going to be a little bit better here. But again, taking advantage of that Jalen Hurts under fantasy score prop line that we are getting. So a decent edge there. And then you are going to notice I'm not including the DeAndre Hopkins under 1.5 receptions. That's going to be a bet that I use on PrizePicks, but by all means, that is currently the best bet on the board. So if you guys want to run that out there, you can. And if you guys want to bet Isaiah Pacheco for 23.5 rush yards, you could do that here as well. And then looking at this bet here, just a 2-slip bet on PrizePicks here. Jalen Hurts for over 20.5 fantasy score, and then DeAndre Hopkins for his under 1.5 receptions. Kind of keeping it simple here. I probably will be releasing another video as game day gets closer to kind of see, honestly, how the lines change. To me, that's always fun. Get these early edges that we can get and then readjust once maybe more public money gets in there and we can find more edges because of that. And that is going to happen. Some of these bets could end up flipping a different way. Maybe they're not as good of bets or even better bets by the game lock time. But that also could be just due to public money. There's going to be a lot of public money in here that does change some of the bets that are going to be out there on the sports books, which then would change the good bets that we are getting on PrizePicks and Underdog. But that's going to do it for this video. Appreciate you guys being here. Make sure to give a like to the video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't. If you guys have a prop bet that you like, make sure to leave a comment in the comment section as well. Always trying to help each other out. Thank you guys for watching. Good luck. If you guys want access to any of the tools, head on over to 95sports.com. Get access to all the prop tools for just $10. All right, thanks for watching. Good luck. And as always, let's keep cashing.